Welcome to the Best Wedding App podcast.
Swipe to the left, swipe to the right. The best wedding app brings your dreams to life.
The Best Wedding App.
Today, we're diving into the world of navigating your furry friends at your wedding. We're exploring how all your furry, feathered, or even your scaled friends can become a part of your celebration. Now, let's get serious. No wedding would be complete without the presence of your beloved pets. So thanks to the extraordinary services provided by Karryn from the Wedding Sitter, it's now possible. Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I'm so excited to have you because I'm an animal lover, but mostly a dog lover.
Yes.
So every time I see you or your glorious staff at a wedding, I ping out. I'm so excited. So tell me a little bit about your journey. How did you get into this?
Yeah, so back in 2019, my husband Alex and I got married. We both didn't have our dogs at that point, but we had our cat Theodore, who we're both absolutely obsessed with and still are. And we just could not imagine getting married without incorporating him in the day in some way, which I know a lot of our couples are like that with their pets too. And you know, in my mind, I was like, oh, it's super easy. He'll just come for photos. And it wasn't until a couple of weeks before the day where I was like, oh, hang on, how are we going to get him there? And also he needs medicating and someone's going to have to take him back and feed him dinner. How are we going to do this? So then I had to have the awkward conversation with one of my lovely friends who is a vet nurse, as am I. Lucky I had vet nurses who were coming to my wedding. I suppose not everybody's that lucky. And I had to ask her if she would mind going home to get him, medicate him, bringing him into the ceremony venue, sitting with him in the room, bringing him out for photos, taking him back home, and then coming back into the wedding reception. And I just felt so awful about burdening her with all of that rather than her enjoying herself on the day. Of course, I'm so grateful that we could have him there. But it was a couple of weeks after our wedding. I was driving home from work one day. This is where I have all my best ideas.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, oh my God, if I've had this problem and not known how to overcome it, there are surely other people that have this issue. And you know, I'm a vet nurse. If there are people, you know, concerned about having their pets in someone's care, you know, I'm the right person for the job. And it just went from there. I went home and talked to my husband Alex, and I was like, this idea's just hit me in the car. And he was like, that's actually awesome. You need to do that. And that was the birth of the Wedding Sitter.
Wow. And how long ago was that? Because I know you've got a little girl, so it would have been a couple of years ago.
Yeah. So we got married in May of 2019, and I officially started advertising in October of 2019.
Wow. And so your business has grown to be how many people now?
So I've now got 8 staff members working with me, which is absolutely mind-blowing.
Wow. Congratulations. That's a huge achievement in a small amount of time.
It's still a pinch me moment when I talk about that sort of thing. Yeah.
And are most of the people that work with you vet nurses, or what's their background?
Yeah, so all of our staff are either vet nurses or they've got other veterinary industry qualifications. So we have people who work in the dog training sector. We have people who work in the canine behaviour sector. We have practicing vet nurses. We've had zoologists. We've got all sorts.
Everyone.
So they're either as qualified as me or more qualified. So.
Oh my God, so cool. And so great to know that your animal's in great care, because we actually do a bit of dog sitting ourselves when we lost our other lab. Our lab was a little bit sad. So then we decided to do some pet sitting. And let me tell you, it's stressful, because if something happens, those dogs are in your care. And if someone eats a piece of plastic, it's not great. So how amazing that, you know, people will know that their animals are not just being taken care of by anybody, but by somebody who's really got some meaningful qualifications behind them.
Yeah, and I know as a pet owner myself, that's super important to me, because I am a helicopter mums.
And so now you've got 1 cat and 2 dogs and a child?
Yes, that's right. So it's a zoo.
Why did Theodore have to have medication?
So he's a very confident, outgoing cat anyway, but to slightly take the edge off of the stress of the journey, he had a light sedation to help ease him into it. I know with cats in general, if we are transporting them to another location, for most cats, that is a fairly stressful, anxiety-inducing situation. So getting ready photos with cats are sort of my first recommendation, doing it in the home. But if we're having them come to the venue, and we can talk to you about the discussion with your vet team of possibly looking at a mild sedation for that. Yeah.
So a sedation's not catnap? Is it catnip? Catnap? What is that? What's that? Is that like weed for cats? What's cat? What is it? Catnap? What is it?
Catnip.
What is it? What is that? Is that like, seriously, is that like weed for cats? I've got no idea.
So it is a plant which can have stronger effects on some cats than others. But it produces very happy emotions.
So it's like weed. It's like weed.
Yeah, and they can get very energetic and
oh my god. I always wondered what that was and what went on with it. It's so funny. And so tell me, what kind of animals have you had apart from dogs and cats? Have you had anything else?
Well, you know what? As of this point in time, we have not had anything besides dogs and cats. Not that I'm not open to it. Of course, I would very happily welcome other pets. I think it's just maybe the word is not out there yet that these services can incorporate other pets besides dogs and cats.
It's got to be lizard or snake people out there who really want their.
And I love reptiles. I would love to do lizard or snakes. We've had people inquire about rabbits and guinea pigs, but we haven't gone through, and that's only been since in the last 4 years. That's only been 1 or 2 people that have inquired, but I would love to.
Wow. Yeah, it would be super awesome. Some snake photos. I mean, I'd run a mile personally. I'd be like, "I'll stay back here, but go for your life."
Yeah.
Oh my god. And what's one of the most memorable moments at a wedding with animals?
Oh gosh, there are so many. The one that sticks in my mind the most at the moment, there was a wedding I did towards the end of last season, and it was the bride who'd organised us to be servicing their wedding like 18 months before the actual date, and right from the get-go, her and her fiance had said, "Oh, you know what, it's actually going to be so difficult to involve the dogs. I think we're going to have to leave them at home, sweetie. I just don't think, you know, who's going to drive an hour to the venue and bring them back home? We just can't ask anyone to do that." So he's gone, "Oh yeah, you're so right. I'm really upset they can't be there, but you know, you've got a really good point there." And he'd just accepted that the dogs weren't going to be involved in the wedding. Unbeknownst to him, I'd been booked in the entire time, and it was going to be this big surprise for him.
Yes.
So we had our pre-wedding meeting. We discussed exactly how we were going to do it. So myself and Soph, one of my staff members, we arrived to the venue. We had to hide in an inconspicuous spot in the car with the dogs until the limousine had arrived with the wedding party, and they'd all, you know, walked down. The groom was waiting there, and we had to hide behind the limo so no one could see us. And then once there was a song that started playing to introduce the dogs, and of course he had no idea. He just thought his bride was about to walk down the aisle. We just released his 2 Labradors, and they bolted down the aisle to Dad, and his response was just insane. He was like, "Oh my God, how did you guys get here? How has this happened? Like, what? This is so amazing." And he's just like, the look on his face was just worth $1 million. Like, it was just the greatest moment. And he just could not get over it for the whole day. He's like, "This is just the best thing ever. How did you pull this off?"
Who was the photographer? Those would be amazing photos.
Ashley Kay. Those photos are amazing. Yes. I am yet to do an Instagram post, actually. I'm terrible, but and the video, I need the footage of that.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's incredible. Now I know what your staff wear to weddings, but I think it's important for people to know, like, what's the outfit people wear, because it is a day where everyone's dressed their best, and
Yeah.
people probably wonder, like, what are you going to wear?
Yeah, so we are always dressed in, we've got sort of black dress pants, and we'll have our black shirt on, or our black t-shirt on with our logo on there, just so we're easily recognizable. Yeah, so yeah, that's what we wear. I think we need to be easily recognizable by all the guests at the wedding, and also, we sort of want to blend in. We don't want to look like a sore thumb when everybody's dressed in their formal attire. So yeah.
And what have you seen some animals dressed in?
So we can supply outfits,
Really?
or you are more than welcome to supply your own. But I know a lot of people don't want to spend the money if it's just for a single day. We often will put the little boy dogs in bow ties and tuxedos. The little girl dogs will have floral collars. We've had little dresses before that couples have supplied. So it can honestly be however extra you want it to be, or however simple that you'd like it to be. So we supply all the beautiful collars and leads as well. So you've got your velvet, so black, white, emerald green, navy blue, all those beautiful colors that a lot of people are choosing at the moment.
How do you keep a white collar clean?
You don't. Simple fact.
One time use.
It's never visible in photos, but at the end of the day, when we get the leads home, they are completely filthy. So
I bet. And do you find that couples are nervous leaving the animals in your care, or do most people feel super confident and don't even think twice about it?
it honestly depends on the couple. I'd say probably 80% of people are really relaxed, like once they've met us and know our qualifications, they've seen us interacting with their pets, and like, yeah, this is fine. But of course, you've always got the pet parents who can be a little bit on the nervous side, and I think a lot of that is to do with just the emotions of the day. Anyway, I think most parts of the day are probably making them a bit nervous and a bit anxious, but it's always when everything's all done at the end of the day, like, oh my God, this was just the best thing ever. Thank you so much for taking great care of them.
Oh yeah, before I had my children, I was like the craziest dog mom, and then I had kids, and I was like, yeah, sure, you can just walk my dog. That'd be great. Thank you. It's funny how things shift, but yes, I was probably that dog mom too. And what kind of advice would you give couples, like, considering taking their pets to their wedding? I mean, I know that people like think about this, but apart from it being a seamless transition with you guys, if someone says, calls you up and says, hey, like, this is what we're wanting to do, what kind of advice do you offer them?
So a few things. Firstly, we need to make sure if your dog is going to be involved in the ceremony that they are quite well socialized, and well socialized aside from the fact of being well socialized with people and pets, having them experience different places and sights and sounds quite frequently in their life as well is very helpful. If we've had dogs that have been quite sheltered or very used to being in quiet areas or indoors, and we are arriving to a wedding with 100 people, for some dogs that can be quite overwhelming. So I do ask people to consider their pet's personality and behavior first and foremost. Sure. In saying that, if we do have a dog that is, more easily overwhelmed or more easily overstimulated or maybe a little bit anxious, this is why we do offer the 2-hour photos only package. So that would be us meeting the couple at a quiet location away from where everything is happening, to just spend some time with themselves and their pet, without all the chaos of the wedding. So much like what you would do, maybe a first look with the couple, sort of like a first look with your dog. That can be a really nice way to incorporate those more shy pets. But my other advice would also be just to get your guests and your vendors on side with having your pets at the wedding. If your vendors aren't aware that there's going to be pets at the wedding, they don't come prepared, it is very helpful for everyone to know and be aware. But there's, other than that, we do take care of most things in the lead up. There's not too much that you need to prepare yourself.
And
so.
how do you do the logistics? Like, do you have doggy seatbelts? Do you have crates? Like, do you have a big truck? What do you do? How are you transporting these animals?
So we like to be quite inconspicuous, I suppose. We don't like to, of course, we have had plenty of dogs that have been a surprise, so we don't like to have a branded van or anything like that. So it is just most of us have 4-wheel drives or station wagons where we do have quite a lot of boot space. So we if they're little doggies, we will clip them in their harnesses in the back seat, so they're clipped in. And with the bigger dogs, we'll have them sort of in the cargo barrier area in the back of the 4-wheel drive or the station wagon and clipped into the cargo barrier area.
Now, I've seen your amazing team navigate photos at a ceremony. Can you talk us through what they do? Because it's actually genius what they do. Like, they are amazing at getting them to sit and the little toys that they use.
See, I think that's one thing that people don't think about if they haven't hired a professional on the day, is actually getting them to pay attention to photos.
Totally.
So,
this is hard. This is hard.
Yeah, it is. So during our meeting with you prior to the wedding, we'll discuss with you, so what are your dogs, what really gets your dog's attention, what's a high value reward or treat for your dog, are there any words that your dog will respond to quite quickly. So we've got, we'll either bring their favourite toy, or we've got very loud squeaker toys, which will cut through the noise of all your happy guests. So we will position the pup where we need to be with you in the photo, and we'll get them focused on whether it's food or their favourite toy, and just back and have them watching. You know, if they do get distracted or they turn away, we squeak that toy really loud, and it usually just gets them to whip around and look straight at us. I'm sure the photographers hate us for that 30 seconds that we're squeezing the squeaky toy.
They love it. I mean, the wedding that we just did with your team, like the photographer was like just waiting for, you know, your team to do what they needed to do, and boom. Like, I mean, it's so handy. And if you're just a photographer, you know, you don't know how to, you can't navigate all of those things.
Oh, so. No, and you've got your hands full with 2 cameras usually. It's not practical for you to be going, oh, hello, puppy dog. Like, it's very tricky for the photographers to be doing that. So yes, we are right up in their grill, I suppose, right behind them. So,
and do you find, like, how long are the pets normally at the ceremony for? Like, what's the shortest amount of time, or what's the longest amount of time? Like, they don't hang out in the reception and sit at the table.
yeah, exactly. Look, in most circumstances, I'd advise against having your pets involved in the reception. It can
be utter chaos.
Yeah, well, exactly. But with the music and the food and all of those sorts of things, the clanking of the plates, that's probably even more overwhelming than what the wedding ceremony would be for most dogs. So we have definitely involved some confident pets in a first dance and things like that at the reception, or the reception entrance as the couple are introduced. So those things are really nice to have a moment during the reception, but we'll usually leave quickly after. But for shortest amount of time, you know, we may, as I mentioned before, we may be there for 25 minutes or so, just having photos at a quiet location, ranging through to full ceremony involvement, which would be us arriving about 15 minutes before your guests are due to arrive, to allow for time to settle in and have a sniff around, greeting your guests as they're coming through. So really nice for the dogs to say hello to 1 or 2 people at a time, which is a nice gentle way to ease them into a group of 100 people. By the time the ceremony rolls around, they have said hello to everybody. They're not trying to get to all the people that they haven't sniffed or said hello to. And then for the ceremony itself, whether they do have a role, if that's walking down the aisle, or just standing up the front with you guys, whatever that may be, there for the ceremony, and photos afterwards. And sometimes we're there for cocktail hour as well, just roaming around the grounds, which is really lovely, and just hanging out with everybody.
Little golden retriever with a cheeky glass of champagne.
Yeah. But it is nice when people are just sort of munching on food and having a couple of drinks, and we're just walking around with the pups, and they're like, oh, hello, how are you? And we just have a chat about the ceremony and how great it was and what we're doing for the rest of the day. So
Oh, I love it. Now, I have worked with your team far away in Dalesford. What happens with your pricing there? Do you just have like a travel fee that you add on for extended travel?
Yeah, so we do include up to 30 kilometres of travel in all of our packages. Any travel further than that as a return trip, we charge per kilometre. So it does vary depending on where you are, of course. We do have staff located in Melbourne and Geelong. We've also got a staff member located in Rutherglen, so she will service sort of the northern Victoria as well. And that helps save you a little bit on travel too, because we're not coming up to Melbourne.
And are you finding that most venues are allowing animals now, or is it still quite restricted?
Most are really good. Obviously, with the food safety regulations, pets are not allowed indoors while food is being served, I should say. So generally any ceremonies outdoors are perfectly fine. If it is a wet weather timetable and we are forced indoors, usually they haven't started serving food yet. So as long as food is not being served, most venues are perfectly happy for us to be indoors in that case, which is great.
And I probably think that with the introduction of your services, right? Like I've been a celebrant for 15 years. Back in the day, like that was really not allowed. But now that there's professionals who do this for a job, it's much harder for a venue to say no when the couple can say, but hey, like this is who's coming.
Yeah.
You're not just going to be roaming free. Well, that's so good to hear. That's awesome, because I have encountered a couple of venues where my clients are like, nah, we're not allowed, but it seems to be becoming more of a rare occurrence.
Yeah, I can only think of 2 venues off the top of my head where it's been a little bit of a headache when we have arrived, but they were very accommodating once we did get there. And obviously we're abiding by their strict regulations, and of course we're keeping very close watch of the pets at all times, and we're a professional, so we're not going to have them digging in the garden and doing their business where they're not meant to, that sort of thing. So
sure. Now, obviously there's trends all over the world in terms of weddings. Are there any new pet trends that you've seen that haven't kind of hit here yet?
Well, I'm just vibing from the TikToks and whatnot. What I'm dying to do is that trend with the bouquets around the dog's face. I don't know if you've seen that.
So
TikTok.
cute. I saw it this
morning. So cute. Can someone do that with me soon, please?
Yeah.
And then you might have seen it as well, when the cats couldn't be part of the wedding. So they had the big giant stick with their cats' faces on it and were dancing around at the reception with their cats on poles. I was like, oh my God, hilarious.
Oh no, I haven't seen that. But one of my clients, this is years ago, who their animals couldn't come, they got big pet cutouts, and these pet cutouts were amazing.
Yeah, they're cool. Hey,
they were so lifelike. It was incredible. Like it was really insane. Well, it is just such a pleasure to chat to you, and it's amazing to know that your beautiful business exists for all of the pet lovers of the world like me. So thank you for what you bring to the industry, and yeah, it's just awesome to see your team, and I've loved chatting to you. So thank you so much for making time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Friends, if you like what you've just heard, please like and share our podcast. We would absolutely love that. And of course, if you're planning your wedding, head to the Google Play Store or the App Store and download the Best Wedding app to plan your best day.
Swipe to the left, swipe to the right. The Best Wedding app brings your dreams to life.
The Best Wedding app.